Hello there, and welcome back to the Senate Podcast. This is not a full-fledged episode. This is just going to be a little May the 4th Star Wars special bonus show, I guess. And I had to bring on a huge Star Wars fan with me today, of course, and it is the Sith Lord himself, Darth Quinn. How do you... Oh, he even has the saber.
Yeah.
How do you feel Darth Quinn? Because if you were in Star Wars, would you join the dark side, or would you fall to the dark side, join it willingly? Would you be a Jedi light side? You want to be a clone bounty hunter? What are you gonna do?
Well, I think the dark side has its pros. You know, they're not afraid of passion, they're not afraid of emotion, but the Jedi also have their pros. You know, they believe in peace and justice, so I would be both. I'd be my own person. I'm not beholden to the ways of the Sith or the Jedi.
Okay, you know what? This is a bonus episode. We're gonna do whatever we want to do. We are not following anything. We just want to celebrate Star Wars because this is May the 4th, and we're, I guess, essentially a Star Wars podcast. We're more so pop culture and films, games, comics, etc. But it will always be based on Star Wars. So what I want to say is that would be cool to be your own character, a Sith, Jedi combination. And you know what is a product that they just announced where you might see something like that? I know you wanted to bring it up, so let's just talk about it now because
oh yeah,
go ahead and break the news because this is a May the 4th announcement essentially.
Yeah, so I was on, for those of you who, I mean, it's on PS5, but I know the interface isn't the same. So for those of you cheap, lazy peons like me who are still playing on PS4, first of all, shout out to you guys. I salute you. I'm with you. If you go to the watch videos and TV tab, it has, you know, like all the video channels you've downloaded and has like all those banners advertising like shows that are on certain, you know, streaming services. I happen to look over for the one for Disney Plus, and Star Wars Visions Season 2 is out.
It dropped.
I don't, there are a few things I've been this excited for. I watched the trailer for it like maybe about a month ago, a few weeks ago. I don't know what time is anymore. And I noticed that either one or two of the shorts are going to be stop motion. And stop motion is my favorite form of animation, I think. Like, it's, you know, like I have such respect for it because, I mean, obviously any form of animation's hard, you know. I'm not going to say that some animators work harder than others. That's just not true. But stop motion is a whole different beast, like, because they have to do like little frame by little frame. They have to move everything, every detail on the figures have to be perfect, the detail. So I don't know. This might be my last episode because I might see that and it might be so good that it will kill me.
So did you know I actually used to do stop motion as a kid with my Star Wars toys?
Oh, cool.
So this is a very special announcement for me. I'll say that. There was this computer I had a webcam, and somehow I had a stop motion software on it. I don't know how. I don't even know how I understood how to use it. I mean, I was like 6 at the time, you know. I had all my Clone Wars toys, all of the Phantom Menace toys, and I just made stop motion Star Wars shows or whatever you want to call them. So
Nice.
Visions 2, I'm super excited for. I don't know if we're going to cover Visions in our retrospective. Maybe we could do what we're doing with Mandalorian and cover Visions 1 and 2 together in some
I'd be more than happy to rewatch it either way, but I mean,
Me too.
it'd be cool to talk about because, you know, like it's that thing, you know, like a lot of like the Star Wars products that they're doing now are interconnected, which I've been verbally not a fan of. I don't think you minded as much, maybe. You know, and that's fine, you know. Interconnected story universes can be a lot of fun. I mean, the MCU was fun for a pretty long time. But Visions represents that side of Star Wars that I want to see more of, which is just independent stories that, obviously have some elements of the bigger picture, but aren't beholden to anything. And if I was in charge of Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy, I know you listen to this podcast, do a whole line of Star Wars movies like they were doing, but they stopped with the spin-offs that aren't connected to anything. Like,
I
and have
agree.
like animated Star Wars movies. Why not? Like they could all be like their own medium of animation. Just get all the all the creative minds, that are in that field, and like that's
And
just
I
more of
think
what I
they
want to
have
see.
creatives at Lucasfilm that want to do this because they are actually branching out with the books a lot and creating whole new eras of Star Wars that were unexplored and untouched, obviously, because they're new, like the High Republic. And it's cool when you get into products like that are just brand new that you know nothing about. You can create some wild stories, which
Yeah,
is why Visions is such an exciting thing to uh, watch and dive into because, like I brought up, you might find a character in Visions that is a Jedi Sith hybrid or something because it doesn't have to follow any rules. And that's cool because it doesn't have an effect on, I guess, the established stories or characters that are in the movies or whatnot. So if you do a spin-off like you're talking about, you can do whatever you want. You can just have fun within the world of Star Wars, the world that George created. And it's the books and the comics and the fan films, which I kind of want to do an episode on fan films one day because there's so many Star Wars fan films. But there's a vast world of Star Wars that has limitless potential. And that's something that makes us very excited because I know you have your own idea for a fan film or a Star Wars show, I would say. So
yeah.
if you had creative control, if you were on the Lucasfilm team, this is Star Wars Day. So what's your Star Wars dream?
If I was put in control of a Star Wars project, I would do a show. Now, I'm pretty sure you know more about the expanded universe than me, even though
I know
Disney
some.
kind of got rid of a lot of it. So,
So real quick, Disney turned it to Legends. When you hear anything brought up in the expanded universe, that is Legends now
okay.
because of Disney. So I consider all of it Star Wars, all of it canon. Like what you want to like, don't like what you don't want to like. It's no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Go,
Well,
but
the
that's
only
how
reason
Disney
yeah, the only reason I
classifies it.
bring that up though is because my pitch has an element that might be contradicted by like some of the expanded universe that's
Yeah.
still in the canon. So just let me know
Well,
if that's the case. But it'd be folk it'd be a show like maybe like a 12 episode mini series, like a small scale show about a training academy for inquisitors. And it basically follow like a group of friends, like they're young adults basically, like I'd say ranging from like 2021 to like 25, 26, whatever. And like at first, they're like we're going to become inquisitors cuz like we want to, serve the empire because these freaking rebels, they're causing trouble, they're
yeah.
wreaking havoc, and we don't want this place to be lawless because, like, and then like they would basically have like their own specific reasons for joining. Like maybe one wants to create a better world for their families who live, like in poverty and stuff, and they can't escape the empire's, stranglehold.
But
Maybe,
there's that form of dark side corruption
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like one
hidden in
of
that
them,
element.
is his wife is pregnant, so he's like thinking about like making the kind of world he'd want his children to grow up in, stuff like that. And then basically throughout the story they would slowly like become influenced by like certain leaders that are training them, to be like, oh, I see you love your friends, but I don't think they really, care about you that much because, I heard him say this and it seems like they think you're weak. So slowly they would all start turning against one another. And then in the finale, they would go on a mission and then two of the characters like would be like face to face with one another, and then the other one is like trying to convince them to like leave the empire. It's like, this isn't what we thought it would be. This isn't what we signed up for. I know you know that. I don't want, to let them corrupt you. And then they have a fight. And then, the other one who's still loyal to the empire literally kills them. And then like there'd be like this like shot where like at first, they're like panicking, hyperventilating, and then like they close their eyes and like breathe in, and start like meditating. And then their demeanor slowly starts to calm. And then they open up their eyes and it's like they're just not there anymore. Like all their feelings are gone. And like maybe for a second they look like they might have a hint of conflict, but then they just like smile. And it's basically like they got everything they wanted, but they had to sacrifice every bit of their humanity to get it. Boom, fade to black, roll credits.
That sounds like similar to The Acolyte, which will be coming out in the coming years, I guess. You would like, you would probably like The Acolyte based on the information, the little bit of information we have with it being about dark side users. So
Is Riva in
there's
that one?
also, she's not confirmed to be in that one, I don't
Oh.
believe. I don't think it's
I
about
don't know
her.
why I thought I heard
I
that
think
she
it's
was going to be
set
in
in
it.
the past too. I think it's set in the past.
Oh.
But there's cool episodes in Rebels with Inquisitors. I'm sure you will enjoy Ahsoka because it's going to have those dark side users who actually had the reddish orange sabers, which Dave Filoni said were red orange on purpose because he's like, maybe they're not completely bad. Maybe they're not completely on the dark side, that things aren't as absolute, or what would they say in Revenge of the Sith?
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah, I guess absolute. Yeah, it's not as absolute as it seems. So I think you would. I think you would enjoy that. So Visions. That sounds like a Visions episode. It sounds like a Visions series. Or you know what that sounds like? They came out with Tales of the Jedi, which is amazing. Did you end up watching Tales of the
I
Jedi
haven't
at
seen
all?
Clone Wars yet, so isn't
Oh
that
yeah.
like
Okay.
in between certain
So
seasons or something?
yeah. It is. It kind of takes actually. It's actually in between all of the prequels for Dooku and Ahsoka, essentially. Dooku, one episode will be pre episode one. Next episode will be in between one and two. Next one between two and three. So it kind of shows him his evolution. It shows him with Qui Gon as his apprentice,
Oh,
and kind
cool.
of how Qui Gon, as his apprentice, kind of sees the signs that he's turning to the dark side, similarly to Obi-Wan and Anakin. It's very cool. And then it's the same with Ahsoka in a way, with her being outcast and everything. But what I'm getting to is that's Tales of the Jedi. What you're describing is almost like that, but it's kind of like a Tales of the Sith, where you explore a Sith after. So there's the rule of two, right? But there's this aspect now that I guess Disney created with Inquisitors. So you do have Sith enforcers and whatnot, Sith troopers, and all of this that aren't technically the Sith lords. So that would be cool to explore more of, like, what is the Sith equivalent to the Jedi Order? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it
I think
more?
the genesis for that idea
Yeah.
was I remember like when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order back in 2020. Um for a good portion of the game I was having fun, but I wasn't like, like, oh, this is fine, it's kind of glitchy, it runs a little weird, but I'm enjoying,
Definitely.
the
So does the new one.
exploration, combat. And then like
Yes.
with the whole I don't remember what the lady's name is, the one who became the Inquisitor.
Oh, she's a great character. What's her name?
Let's see.
Sarah. I think, like, Cera.
Sere, is that it?
So something like that. Yeah.
See,
So, yeah.
no,
She was a great. She was a great
I'm
character.
talking about her apprentice who became evil. I forget her
Yeah.
name.
So
No,
you would actually
Sere's the
like.
older lady.
Okay. Yeah, she was the one that turned back and helped Cal. So
Oh,
you liked
Trilla.
that aspect. Trilla.
Yeah,
She was
yeah,
a great
Trilla.
character. Yeah.
Like with that whole like when you're walking through that cave and like Trilla's like talking to you,
Yeah.
like trying to manipulate you a little bit, and then like seeing how all that resolved, like that was when I kind of started to really like the game because I'm like, oh damn, so I kind of had this thought that like it seemed to me that becoming an inquisitor was essentially like being indoctrinated, like joining a
Yeah.
fraternity
Yeah.
house. You know what I mean? Like where like when you
Yeah.
join a fraternity, there's like a humiliation ritual and all that stuff that you have to do. Like it's kind of like that, and then that like
Well, you see
made
that
me
in
think about
Kenobi.
like a group of friends. Like how would that affect like just the everyday people? Because that's not something we see much in Star Wars. It's usually about like Jedi, Sith, bounty hunter, Senate, but like what about the regular people who just like sign up for the Empire or something because they're idealistic, and like how would that like how would that affect them as they slowly start to see like the bigger picture and realize, oh, this shit is way more gray than we ever thought it was.
And you
You
know
know what I
where
mean?
I'm gonna point you to now? A little show called Andor, because that's sort of what Andor is.
Yeah.
Normal people being forced
Yeah. I can't wait
or
to watch the whole
in their
thing, but
own,
yeah.
oh, dude, so good, or in their own minds, they're like joining the Empire is the only way. In Andor, much like Finn in the sequel trilogy, you get to meet a few deserters from the Empire.
Oh.
It is interesting. It is a great series from beginning to end. There's that. So you would like Jedi Survivor a lot. It touches on that, and I was bringing up the High Republic earlier because Jedi Survivor actually touches on the High Republic, and it's so interesting. You know, people have an issue with Disney, and I want to get into Disney Star Wars. People have an issue with how Disney is handling the IP. That's
Understandably.
fine. That's fine. I do too. But they have the ability now to continue, in the universe of Star Wars. It's not over. You know what I mean? You might not like some
Yeah.
of the things they're doing, but there are other aspects that are great. So in Jedi Survivor, you actually explore ruins of the High Republic, which
Oh,
these
cool.
he says, "Wow, this looks like a Jedi training ground or something like that." But it's like it looks kind of ancient, but still futuristic in a way. So it's just the visuals, and you meet a droid from thousands of years ago that powers back online to continue its mission that it was on before the Empire and everything. It's
I feel
really
like
cool pieces of storytelling.
ironically my favorite thing from Fallen Order wasn't like fighting with a lightsaber, traveling to these different planets necessarily. It was
Yeah,
it was just the exploration, just walking into a place and then like finding those various points where you can use the force to like see what happened. Like that was such a great way to tell a story. So like I'm imagining how that works in Jedi Survivor, exploring like old ruins of like old Jedi training grounds, and
it's
I'm
so good.
getting like really hype, just
And you'll
thinking
like
about
it
that.
because the worlds themselves are bigger, and they have outposts where you can go out into the galaxy, find people, and recruit them back to your outpost for different things. It's pretty cool. So I brought up that I want to talk about Disney Star Wars. Just for the sake of going in chronological order, let's start where it all began with the original trilogy and George, his vision for Star Wars. See what I did there? Uh, so what's your favorite aspect of George's Star Wars? Let's just say the original saga, the original 6 movies. What's
Yeah,
your favorite movie or element from pre Disney?
my
I can give mine
favorite.
if you're.
Yeah, no,
if you want to think for a
my
second.
favorite aspect, I
Okay.
mean, like, you know, the fight scenes were obviously really fun. But I think my favorite aspect of Star Wars has always been just like seeing what new locations
Yeah.
we were gonna
Okay.
see. Like, you know, like a few that stick out is, I mean, Tatooine's so iconic that a lot of the shows can't seem to leave it. You know, like
What's your
that's,
favorite
oh, we're
planet?
going back to Tatooine.
Yeah.
Hoth is iconic. I mean, it's just ice, but for some
Okay.
reason, like how they shoot it and, you know, like the set design and stuff, it looks cool. Dagobah, Dagoba's incredible. Like,
Very
I can't wait to
mysterious.
talk
Yeah.
about that in our Empire retrospective, because I every time I watch the original trilogy, I'm like, I forget that I'm just looking at like regular locations that have sets, and I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I'm looking at a planet, you know, with like its own biosphere, its own
Yes.
ecosystem, all
Underrated.
that stuff. And then I'm not the biggest fan of Return of the Jedi. Crucify me if you want to.
It's
But
okay.
Endor is awesome, except for the Ewoks, they suck. But
It's
like,
fun. Yeah.
you know, like it's just so like lush and green. Um so yeah, like my favorite part about Star Wars has always been, and it's actually, as much as I, you know, love the sequel trilogy, even though it has a lot of problems, especially Rise of Skywalker, I think in some ways that's kind of what they dropped the ball on, because like there are a few planets that I think are cool. Like Crate, I think is solid.
I
I
love
love,
Crate, actually.
I love
Crate's awesome.
Canto Bite. Hot take, but I love Canto
Blah.
Bite.
Blah.
The subplot, not so much. We'll talk about that
All
eventually,
right.
but
So
just
overall,
the look of
favorite
it
planet,
in all of Star Wars.
all of Star Wars,
Holy
or original six.
original.
It's a tough question. I'm going to
I
ask
would
you your
say
favorite
maybe.
character too.
I would say maybe. Honestly, maybe Endor or Tatooine.
Okay, so you're a big fan of Return of the Jedi, I see. So those are classic planets. They're amazing. Of course, I love anything from the original trilogy, but the prequels are my favorite. My favorite planet is Coruscant. I just love Coruscant.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Besides that, I love Naboo. Naboo is also one of my favorite
Oh
planets
yeah,
ever.
definitely.
So you love the galaxy far, far away aspect, where when you're watching the movie, it really feels like this is a real planet out there somewhere that we're hoping that this exists. We're hoping lightsabers are real. Thanks,
Yeah, I
Mr.
mean
Beast.
that's part
So
of like, that's always been it for me, is the escapism, and I feel like, you
yes,
know, the original
definitely.
six capture that better in some ways than the Disney trilogy, because like they'll, in some of the movies, like they show a new planet for like a little bit, and then it's like, okay, we're leaving,
Yeah,
and it's like, but no, I want to like explore and, you know, see, you know, the ecosystem and wildlife. But I
the
feel like they
culture
just use
there,
them
the
for
people.
like set pieces, instead of the original movies. They had planets that had set pieces, but they also, like, you could like Geonosis. You look at Geonosis and know what the ecosystem's like,
Yeah.
have an idea of, you know, like what possibly kind of things could have happened here. And they don't really do that a lot in the sequel trilogy, which sucks.
So an underrated pick. I actually really want to say this, but it's not technically part of the Skywalker saga. It's from a spinoff. Is Scarif from Rogue One. That planet looks
Oh yeah.
absolutely amazing. So that's the planet. We'll get to the Disney trilogy. We'll get to the Disney stuff. But first, what's your favorite character from pre-Disney, from the George Lucas
Ah.
era?
See, a few of my favorite characters are in the Disney ones. So,
I know that's why I'm
pre-Disney,
at. Yeah, that's why
yeah,
let me go. I like Luke a lot, and I also like
yeah.
Anakin. I'm pretty simple when it comes to this. Qui-Gon is up there in the originals because obviously we've talked about him a lot. He is different from the Jedi, all the other Jedi. He's just different. But I'm such a fan of Luke and Anakin, both for a lot of reasons, similar reasons, different reasons. I think, we went over why they're like a mirror of each other in a way. But it all comes together in Return of the Jedi with father and son, two great characters. I love them both. I'm pretty simple when it comes to this. So, George Lucas era, what characters do you love? Probably Han Solo.
I'd say either no, actually. Well, I'm gonna give my hot take about Han Solo, hot take, but I'm gonna pick my. So I'd say the same as you, either Luke or Anakin. Like I mean, I never
What
related to
about Boss
Luke that
Nass? I love
much,
Boss
but I
Nass.
mean, like I think I've related to Luke more as I've gotten older because I know how it feels to like want to do things with your life and feel like you're just stuck and you can't leave where you are. Like one of my favorite Star Wars lines is I don't remember what C3PO says to him or asks him, but he says, "Well, if there's a bright sun in the center of the universe, you're on the planet where it's the farthest from." Like that's
Yeah.
exactly how I feel about my city. Like I feel like it's just gotten worse and worse, and it's just this like you know crappy rundown wasteland that I can't escape. So I feel for Luke a lot, and then Anakin maybe a little more because of the childhood aspect, like seeing Revenge of the Sith as a kid. But
What about
like,
Max Rebo?
did I forget Max Rebo? Damn,
Look up
it
look up
slipped my
Max
mind.
Rebo.
Yeah, the Max Rebo band that plays one song.
Yes.
Yeah, I I love the bit in Family Guy where him.
He's a classic. Size Snoodles. So there's so many
Yeah,
great
some of the
random
prequel
characters in
characters
the
have like
originals.
names that
Yeah.
you can't memorize, like
No matter how hard you
like
try.
like a N2 Magufu or something. I forget. I don't even remember.
What's your favorite, most insignificant character in all of Star Wars?
Most insignificant.
Mine is Rey Skywalker.
Well,
I'm
that's
just
the end of
joking.
this episode.
I'm just joking.
No,
I'm just
insignificant. I mean, I can't say that Babu Frick is insignificant because he does a lot, but he's one of the best
but
characters.
that's kind of what I was thinking. I really like Babu Frick
Yeah, but
because
yeah,
yeah,
dude,
I like that. That's a good pick.
it's so crazy. Like as split as the Star Wars fan base has become over the years, when Rise of Skywalker came out, that was one thing that I saw people who liked and hated it unanimously agree that they love Babu Frick, and it's like I
Yeah.
never thought that this like throwaway character would be the thing that brought the fans together, but
His species returns in Mandalorian season 3.
yeah,
It's awesome.
I saw the clip where he's like yelling at Grogu.
Yeah, that's a funny one. So I want to get into a little bit now the Disney era because we've been talking a lot about the George Lucas era. It's all Star Wars, but I'm just breaking it down into time frames. I want to get into post Disney, a little bit of a lightning round because we have yet to do the retrospective, so we can save a lot of our
Yeah,
takes for the retrospective. Even our takes on characters we can save. But lightning round, sequel trilogy. What's your favorite part? What's your favorite aspect of the trilogy? Not necessarily character, but what do you like about the sequels?
it's just a byproduct of me seeing Force Awakens as a young man, but that in a lot of ways is my first Star Wars trilogy because I didn't remember seeing the other two prequels before Revenge of the Sith, and I didn't see the original trilogy actually until I was like 18. So like, like seeing that trilogy start, identifying with the characters, speculating on where it would go. My favorite aspect was that it was the first time I really related to Star Wars characters. Like I
So,
resonated with Rey, like
okay.
looking to the past and not being able to look to the future. I resonated with Finn, not wanting to be a slave, and
Force Awakens is a good movie.
I resonated with Kylo Ren, feeling
Frustration. Yeah.
internally conflicted about like not knowing what to do. Like I and the freaking stuff with Han and Leia, the drama with them is the best it's ever been. The best it's ever been. I know that's a
See,
hot take, but
I want to keep diving in and picking your brain on why. But we will get to that in the retrospective. I can't wait because I want to know your hot take on Han Solo. But I agree. My favorite aspect of the sequels are the characters. I really like Kylo Ren a lot. I also really like Finn a lot. So, two great characters. Sequels are all right. Force Awakens is great. We will save our hot takes and our explanations for later. So, we talked a little bit about pre Disney, post Disney, all that. So, what is now your favorite aspect of Star Wars that has nothing to do with the movies, the mainline movies, the Skywalker saga, anything outside of that? I can go first because we kind of touched on it. I love the games. I love games,
yeah.
but specifically Cal Kestis. He is becoming one of my favorite Jedi. And I would have said him as one of my favorite characters, but he's not in the original movies or the sequel movies yet. Hopefully he shows up in a movie or a show, but I love Cal Kestis and obviously the games. The Battlefront games, uh Force Unleashed games, all of them, even Lego's Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. I love that game. So what's your favorite aspect outside? And I like the books, the novelizations. There's so much great content. For you, I'm gonna say you're gonna say Visions.
Outside, I mean, yeah, probably Visions because a lot of the other like I haven't played a lot of the
Yeah.
video games, admittedly. Yeah, I'd say Visions, like it brought the opportunity for people to make side stories, even Solo, which I'm looking forward to
Okay.
talking about that movie eventually because it's like I don't know, it might be in my top 5, if not definitely number 6, because I think that movie's underrated. I'm mad that it got released when it did because people didn't really see it, and then they were like, maybe we shouldn't make these spin-offs. And I'm like, no, make 5 more of these and only these. I will watch them all. Thank you.
Okay. Lightning round now because we have a few minutes. We talked about the movies. We talked about some of our favorite products and characters and whatnot. So, lightning round, Disney Plus shows. Which one do you like? Which one don't you like?
Uh, I love what I've seen of Andor, and I
I
can't
agree.
imagine that would change once I see the whole thing.
Yes. Oh, it gets even better.
I love
I agree with you.
Vision season 1, of course. I don't like Kenobi. I like parts of it, but the show as a whole just felt like by the
Felt cheap.
time it changed concepts and stuff so long, and it was in development for so long that by the time they actually got to filming it, it didn't seem like a lot
Yeah.
of people really wanted to be there. Like they just made it because they had to at that point, and it's just a big nothing that adds very little. And I don't know. I hear people love it, which I'm not gonna. I respect people's opinions, but I would really love to know why they feel that way.
People feel that it is a 100% extension, completely fits with the prequels. It is nothing like the prequels.
Yeah,
So, even though it uses the characters, it acts as, like it's a continuation, but it's not. So, you have yet to see Clone Wars in its entirety. Season 7 is great. Bad Batch is actually really interesting. So, I agree with you. Andor is awesome. Kenobi is not that great. Book of Boba Fett is terrible. Mando has been pretty cool. I like the characters that they're creating now for post sequels, I guess if you want to call it that kind of era. The post sequel characters. Grogu's awesome. Din Djarin is awesome. It's cool seeing these characters. So we got to end it here in a minute. But before I do, what color would your lightsaber be?
what color? Let's say. Honestly, I think mine would be like a navy blue. Because you usually just see like light, medium blue, but I want my lightsaber to reflect my personality and I'm sad. No, yeah. I just kind of like the idea of like, like using the iconic blue lightsaber, but giving it a little bit of edge. So I feel like that's me in a nutshell. Like I'd say I'm mostly in line with Jedi in terms of my philosophies and stuff, but I have a little bit of an edge to me, and that's the kind of person I would be
So
in Star Wars.
in Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, you can change the color of your saber. So that's why I'm asking. One of my favorite colors is actually indigo, and it's a mix between like the navy and the purple. I feel like you would pick something like that because it shows a little bit of maybe a hint of very small hint of dark side, but you also have that classic navy
I
blue.
don't want to
It's a
say purple because of Mace
great
Windu,
saber.
but yeah, I'd say
It's indigo.
indigo would probably be the best, or maybe pink because when have we ever seen a
They do have a
pink
magenta one.
lightsaber?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just love the idea of like being a badass fighter, and having a pink lightsaber and people being like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting."
That is actually a really cool point. So mine would actually so let's back up a little bit. I've always loved the green lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. Once I saw that, I was in love. Love the green lightsaber, but I would pick blue for the same reasons. It's the iconic blue. But in reality, I would just dual wield and I would have a blue and a green saber dual wield. That's my actual pick. And you answered my other question, light side, dark side. I think we both would be on the light side. Never felt like turning to the dark side. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's like being hedonistic is fun for a little bit, but that's no way to live your life. But I also don't want to be a slave to the Jedi and have to, totally ignore my own emotions and wants because I feel like that's also problematic. So I'd probably be like a Qui-Gon, like the Jedi would trust me to do things, but maybe sometimes they'd be like, "Hey, why don't you keep an eye on him because he's a little weird and we don't want him to, pop off or anything."
so yeah, I would definitely be a Jedi like Qui-Gon or Ahsoka and have either a blue and green dual wield or just maybe a single white saber because I also love those. All right, that's gonna be it for our special May the 4th, just Star Wars episode. We just want to talk Star Wars. We we talked a lot. We covered a lot without getting into detail. But is there anything you want to leave this episode off on that you want to touch on a little bit more that we have, and then we'll get out of here.
I would just encourage people to celebrate in a constructive way, in a positive way. Like rather than fight about the Star Wars stuff you don't like, just like watch whatever movies you like, play whatever games you like, read whatever books you like, put on a Star Wars cosplay if you do that, and fight.
And just have fun
Pretend
with
to
it.
have a fight
Enjoy it.
in your room by yourself. Just have a great time. Let the positive aspect of the Force flow through you, because at the end of the day, Star Wars was made to be fun and to give us an escape from real life drama, and letting
Feeling
it
yeah.
become corrupted by that and weigh you down just sounds very not enjoyable.
Yeah, George said don't get too attached to it. That you don't do what Luke did and look out, travel the galaxy, save the world. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So that's fun, man. Star Wars, it's a lot of fun to talk about. We just wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about it. So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna end it with beam me up, Scotty. I threw you off with that one, didn't I?
Damn it. There are a lot of planets out there, and I'm gonna be the first one to see them all.
Be the first one to conquer them all.